Peace is a relative term that could defy exactitude of definition. However, for every human society, people expect an acceptable measure of harmony that can promote the transaction of private and public business, an environment of law and order for legitimate flow of commercial, social, and even political activities. Indeed, we are all familiar with the axiom that no meaningful development can take place in the absence of peace, as the security of lives and property is what is often accepted as peace. This perhaps explains why governments at all levels devote substantial part of their annual budgets to issues bordering on maintenance of peace and security in their localities.
It is very clear that if development is to come, and we have already said we want development, we must provide the environment.
Our executive governor, distinguished Senator Arthur Ifeanyi, has been wonderful, and the traditional rulers in Delta State as a whole will have to complement his efforts to make sure Delta State is peaceful.
Before now, people always ascribe youth restiveness to Uwie. They give it all sorts of names. But we give thanks to God that we have a monarch who is complementing the peace and security efforts of Okowa that has made Uwie a different place now.
Today, human society is replete with sundry violence, ethnic skirmishes, as well as fratricidal and international wars. All of these with the multiplier effects of hostage-taking, kidnapping for ransom, armed robbery, political assassination, and several others have created the need for peace in human society. Indeed, with the rise in fundamentalism, the need to redouble efforts at strengthening security of lives and property cannot be overemphasized. Bearing this in mind, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, on assumption of office on the 29th of May 2015, made it a point to tackle the security challenges confronting the state through both conventional and unconventional means. The governor deployed the equitable distribution of projects and positions as a potent tool to galvanize the cooperation of all class of people and the diverse ethnic groups in the state.
If you look at Delta State, the truly governor has been able to stabilize peace in the state, and peace has come to reign. And that is giving us a new way in having investors coming into the state.
Mindful of the multi-ethnic complexities of Delta State, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa on the 5th of August 2015, and in tandem with his meaningful peace-building platforms aimed at political and social harmony mantra, inaugurated the Delta State Advisory and Peace-Building Council with a mandate to study the causes of conflict among the various communities in the state and advise on appropriate peace-building mechanisms that could engender harmonious coexistence among the diverse people of the state. This body of eggheads, led by an erudite scholar and a former Minister of Information, Professor Sam Onyewairi, immediately swung into action.
The Advisory Council that helps the governor have dealt with a number of intercommunal and intra-communal peace processes.
In collaboration with the council, the state governments organized a well-attended one-day stakeholder summit on destruction of oil and gas facilities. The summit was a no-holds-barred session where representatives of oil-bearing communities eloquently highlighted sources of their anger and possible remedy to the age-long deprivation of the area.
These kids that are fighting, they are our children, and as parents we can talk to them, but the other way around, instead of you to listen to the people, you rather bring in military, and the more they militarize the place, the more they have casualty too.
As elders, as we start to talk for ourselves and for our people, one thing we must first realize that we need to search our conscience and be sure that truly we want to be a voice for the people.
While the government was yet to digest and unfold the implementation roadmap of the outcome of the Peace Summit, the Creeks and indeed the state was greeted with return of hostilities of unimaginable proportion that left in its wake massive destruction of oil facilities.
Governor Okowa, like I said, is not just a good administrator. He's not just seasoned, but he's a very practical person. I will take your mind back to 2015 when they assumed office newly. And he was the first governor to speak very bluntly to Mr. President, say the crisis in Delta State about the Niger Delta Avengers. He told them, if you are pursuing peace, you don't go with war apparatus. Some of the recommendations the governor profiled, and since they follow the governor's recommendations, peace returned. And the peace that has returned to the Niger Delta is not just for the good of Delta State. It's not just for the good of the Niger Delta region, but it's for the good of the entire country.
Regrettably, the attacks on oil and gas facilities by the Niger Delta Avengers incidentally began to erode the gains of the Peace Summit. Though the militant group blamed the resumption of hostility on the federal government's disposition towards resumption of academic activities at the Maritime University, Okowa, and other sundry matters, the negative impact of the attacks on oil installations were being felt severely in Delta State. For instance, when in 2016 the Forcados trunk line was blown up, the export of crude produced in Delta State was almost completely shut down. Indeed, from February 2016 to September 2017, there was no meaningful export of crude oil from Delta State. The implication is that revenue accruing to the state as one of the oil-producing states suffered serious setback. This action, coupled with the recession biting the country, led to the visit of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to Delta State on Peace Shuttle. Governor Okowa mobilized the people to enable the federal government interface with the aggrieved communities and people of the state.
The solution is upon the team, let them go around the various ethnic nationalities and the state to address the problem facing the people so that there will be increase in production. We, the Okowa nation, we to make the following demands on behalf of our people. 1. Upgrade the Sapele port to the status of an export zone with the capacity to export oil.
I ask all of you to please join all of us in the search for peace. Because without peace, the dreams that we have in terms of the Maritime University, in terms of the gas center in Ogedengwe, in terms of all the fairly huge job potentials that oil companies can bring, will be a mirage.
Mr. Vice President, we are happy that you have come to see for yourself. Those people who were using these lies, they deceive federal government against the young people. They are not in the interest of government. If young people have always worked with leadership in this country, we are ready to work with President Buhari. It is time to prepare for the future. Our future is not a future of environmental degradation. It's not a future of poor infrastructure. It's not a future of no roads. It's not a future of harassment and locking up. Our future is a future of progress. It's a future of development. Mr. Vice President's visit is a visit that is a game changer. The visit is a confidence building visit. So it is obvious that the visit is a visit of partnership. He has come to think along with us, and together, by the special grace of God, we will get out of the challenges that we have at the moment.
Deltans, Governor Okowa is working, and we are saying it. God gave us a governor whose divine intervention in addressing the state's security, political and economic challenges is yielding good results for the benefits of all. This Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa-led administration from inception has awarded and built many schools, too numerous to mention, many roads across the 25 local government areas, construction of drainages, which is seriously tackling the flood challenges across the state, many hospitals with modern facilities and healthcare services. That is not all. Thousands of youths have been trained and empowered across the 3 senatorial districts of the state. Peace and security with democratic equity brought by this administration has restored our investors' confidence in Delta State. Deltans, let's support this administration for more democratic dividends.
Still in his determination to arrest the situation through a multi-pronged approach, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa inaugurated the State Advocacy Committee Against Vandalism of Oil and Gas Facilities. The committee, which is headed by the State Deputy Governor, Barrister Kingsley Otuaro, relocated to the creeks and began series of stakeholders' engagement to halt the attacks.
Our immediate primary concern is to ensure that this pit bumping of critical oil infrastructure is put to a stop. That's our concern, because it's an ill wind that is blowing nobody any good, at least at these critical times. It's not the best of times for our economy, and we can't fold our hands akimbo and see what's happening to continue to go.
We have been discussing for now. I know that we have good intention towards ensuring our entire Niger Delta region is safe to allow for investors to come in.
The committee held several conferences and talks at different times with host communities on sustaining peace-building potentials and surveillance of oil and gas assets through community engagement, among others.
The recent happenings in Baramatu and environs, we condemn it in strong terms. The recent attack on oil facilities do not just destroy the economy, but it destroys our ecosystem.
Your Royal Majesty, you recall, in recent past, we have had increase in destruction of critical oil facilities in the riverine areas of Delta State. And as a committee, we are built to go to the riverine and advocate, engage cross-section of people, especially our youths, to make them realize that destruction of critical oil facilities under any guise, under any reason, is not the way out to addressing any problem, if there is any.
There were also cases of communal misunderstanding, largely due to boundary disputes between communities in parts of the state. In all these instances, the right approach given to these skirmishes by Governor Okowa ensured that they did not escalate into large-scale hostilities.
I believe in justice, but even while trying to achieve this justice, as I did say, the first resolution comes from the inner heart that we are committed to resolving the problem.
Today, the gains of these efforts are very visible, as most communities in Delta have since the inception of the Okowa administration progressively experienced peace and increased security.
Governor Okowa is an epitome of peace. See, he believes in peace, he believes in dialogue. He approaches peace from the point of view of dialogue. For the oil companies to continue to operate is a big success, on the part of the government.
The average Deltan, an inhabitant of the state, would categorically tell that incidents of armed robbery, breaking in and stealing, kidnapping for ransom, and other violent activities are on the decline in the state.
Most times we continue to kill ourselves for parcels of land. But somehow through that process and the crisis that we create between our communities, we do not realize that we're actually creating a destruction for the future of our youths.
A discourse on peace-building efforts under the Okowa-led administration would not be complete without a reference to the menace of the Fulani herdsmen and their intractable issues with communities across the nation.
Look at the herdsmen farmers clash. The way he has handled that crisis has made it possible for us to keep down reasonably the rate of human and property loss.
As a way of ensuring harmonious relationship between cattle herders and their host communities, the state government appointed a non-Deltan from the Arewa community in the state as special assistant to the governor. Through that office, contacts are constantly made with the leaders of the herdsmen community, and meetings are held to discuss and resolve issues of concern.
We are very familiar with the community, the Hausa Fulani community. In the various local government, we have our representative. In times of crisis, they communicate to me, then we have to go down and try to manage the situation. That's how we are able to do it, and by His grace, you can see there is peace in Delta State.
Delta State is a peaceful state. We know. If Delta didn't like us, they could have said all non-individual locate, and we must. We should try to help ourselves, help the Delta State government, that let us talk the truth.
With what has gone on today, you see that everybody is willing to contribute, to assist the government to achieve what it wants to achieve. We are all stakeholders.
We thank the governor, Dr. Senator Ifeanyi Okowa, for making it possible for us to meet regularly and discuss the affairs of the state, and at the same time to work out the modus operandi of solving this current problem that we are now handling.
What we are trying to do is to ensure that every community is vigilant, every community is aware. It is the criminal elements amongst them who are coming to spoil the peace that they have had with us in the last couple of years.
The state government, through the office of the Secretary to the State Government SSG, has convoked several tripartite meetings involving herders, farmers and host communities, all with a view to promoting healthy and peaceful coexistence.
We are gathered here for a stakeholders meeting, an interactive section which has been put in place by His Excellency the Governor of Delta State to interface and sensitize the people on the bare need for farmers, host communities and herdsmen to live in peace and harmony in Delta State.
While efforts to find lasting peace in the state is still ongoing, the spate of kidnapping, cultism, armed robbery, sea piracy and other vices are also being confronted by the Delta State government through its monthly security meetings with heads of security units in the state.
We hold our Security Council meetings regularly every 2 weeks where we get reports, although I get daily reports from the security agencies, but through such meetings we are able to compare notes and collectively take decisions, and it has helped us in addressing a lot of security challenges in the state, and we can truly say for sure that today Delta State is slightly peaceful and much more peaceful than it used to be in the past.
Beside the regular security meetings in both Asaba, the state capital, and Warri, the commercial nerve center of the state, the Okowa-led administration has, despite paucity of funds, provided operational vehicles, logistics and communication equipment to the police and other security agencies to enhance operational efficiency of security formations in the state. This has effectively helped in reducing sundry criminalities before they could escalate.
Security has already been enhanced. We have been trying our best. We have been doing our bit with the assistance of government and other security agencies, and we are not relenting.
Another strategic approach adopted by Governor Ifeanyi Okowa to engender harmonious and peaceful community life in Delta is the regular interface with the traditional institution. Beyond identifying with programs and projects initiated by the Royal Fathers, Governor Okowa has constantly ensured that royal fathers are carried along in all government-organized events.
There was avalanche of crises all over the state, particularly the riverine areas, as a result of perceived marginalization and oil exploitation. But when he came on board, he put his arsenals down and worked within the possible time and worked 24/7. And today we have achieved at least peace in Delta State.
I've heard of his peace initiative, which is quite commendable. At this stage in our life in this country, we need peace. There is no sacrifice or amount one spend in having peace that is not worth it. So I want to commend him.
I want to express and be on record as having expressed commendation and appreciation for the big strides that His Excellency has made. There's a lot more you have done for which we want to really from our hearts commend you. Even more than infrastructure, the efforts you have put in to ensure that the Niger Delta remains a peaceful place. There is not a quarter in the year that passes when we don't see you on television or on the pages of newspapers or just through our networking that we are doing one thing or the other to make sure that dialogue is the basis for solving the unrest in the Niger Delta. And you have spectacularly succeeded. It is our place to align with you and to make sure that we build on the fledgling peace you have managed to achieve through your strenuous efforts all this while.
One thing I want to plead with our traditional rulers, please always think in the manner that united, you are stronger. Divided, we are weaker. So we must take note of that, because the tendency is always to believe that, oh, I'm going to be more relevant here, I'm going to be more recognized here. But we must think about the larger interest of the people.
The strongest weapon the administration deployed to tackle insecurity and promote peace is the multiple aggressive skill development and empowerment program. Through the Delta State Job and Wealth Creation Office, microcredit, and many agricultural incentives, the administration has created thousands of direct and indirect jobs, even as more have been engaged to render different services towards the execution of projects initiated by the administration.
Because we are nobody before now, but because he has come up with this project, we are becoming somebody, and this project has enabled me personally to put food on the table for my family.
The government has really tried for us, for making us to live the amnesty level and for making us to live a better life.
Father God, it is best that this project is a unified project, that we all receiving or benefiting from this project, we all enjoy it, and those that bring the project, even the Chinese and even the Nigerian men, they will all beneficial.
His Excellency has been able to use skill acquisition program to deplete the number of youths in the street who ordinarily would have been troublemakers. And that is why you can see that peace is gradually returning to not just Ubiye constituency, but the whole of Delta State.
We talk to ourselves, at least to shun violence, any form of it, whether, no matter how small you want to call it. But the fact is that we love peace.
The principle of siting of projects in far-flung coastal communities and the opening up of a good number of rural and agrarian settlements is another philosophy employed by Governor Ifeanyi Okowa to promote trust and faith in the administration. This approach has helped to spread a deep sense of belonging to the different ethnic nationalities.
Okowa, the governor of Delta State, a man so people-oriented. What he's doing in the state is marvelous. Developmental stride is taken in every nook and cranny of the state. It's well appreciated. And I wish him more successes. And I wish him more time to rule. Even if we want to rule beyond the second tenure, people will appreciate it.
The governor has done very well in the area of peace And you see, we have also collaborated with him to give peace a chance in the state.
All said, peace building and security are arguably areas where the Okowa administration in Delta State has hugely succeeded. This success owes greatly to a consciousness about the ethnic multiplicity of the state and the all-important need to achieve balance and fairness. Also, the strategy of constant dialogue and surveillance, as well as effective synergy with all the security operatives, coupled with the empowerment of youths, have proved to be effective tools.